This is Keyed In with Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. And now, here are your hosts, Max Rabin and Brent Jackson.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Keyed In podcast. I'm Max Rabin.
And I am Brent Jackson.
Okay, Brent, today we have, is this a controversial guest? Because...
It'll be controversial in the eyes of some of our listeners for
right.
sure.
Yes, I agree.
We're gonna debunk all those very shortly.
Okay, all right. Well, we have Kevin Caulfield and Jocelyn Voss from Final Offer. Final Offer is a technology platform that we are learning more about every day. A lot of agents are starting to use this. I'm going to let you guys walk us through how the platform works before I say something and get it completely wrong, because I've only used it once. And Brent, have you used it?
We're in the process of using it now for one of our listings, which is
Okay.
1525 P Street Northwest, penthouse number 5.
So you have your
for 1.8.5. A little plug there.
Okay, no, that's why don't we do that more often?
I don't know.
So you're using the platform to list one of your properties.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, Jocelyn and Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you
for having us.
Why don't you, let's just start with that. Why don't you explain what your technology platform is and how it works?
Final Offer is a platform to handle the offer negotiation process, right?
Okay.
And so with Final Offer, I'd say the biggest difference is, with listing through Final Offer versus just a traditional MLS listing is we're giving you kind of exactly what the seller is looking for in terms of price and terms, right? And so with Final Offer, we're disclosing the minimum price that the seller has committed to accept. And we're also disclosing the final offer, which is basically our, what you can buy the home for today, or buy it now, right? And along with that, we're disclosing all of the terms that have meaning and function to the seller, right? And so we're giving that transparency to the buyer community and allowing them to come in and know exactly what it's going to take to buy the home, right? And then in turn, we're also alerting all of the buyers when offers are made.
In real time.
Right.
In real time. So what that's doing is it's creating a sense of urgency that there is in fact an offer on the property, and it's getting people to come to the table quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people feel more comfortable knowing what they're up against, right? Like a lot of our clients have gone through difficult experiences in the past where they put an escalation addendum in, and then an agent counters it or doesn't use the escalation addendum. And they think, did I just show my cards? Like, what just happened here, right? So you're building this like confidence for a buyer to know exactly what they're up against, to feel like they can actually buy the home or walk away from the home.
Okay.
And so when you win, you know why you won. And when you lose, you know exactly why you lost. So there's no, everything is there to see it. And what we've seen, buyers will go to where they're comfortable with going, and then the eventual buyer is the one that where all the other buyers can see exactly the terms and the price that they will buy the home for, right? And so what we're seeing it do too, now we've got over 60 homes in the DMV, so we're having this data in real time, and so we can see whether the market's picking up or if it's on a decline, and so that's good information to be able to arm your clients with, buyers and sellers.
Sure.
Yeah, and on a listing appointment, you can say to someone who has an unrealistic price, well, this one's pending right now for this price, and I know exactly what it's pending for. So really, this is where the comp is at.
Let me clarify then. So I did a transaction. I'm in the middle of a transaction right now, actually, where it was listed on Final Offer, and we made an offer that was below asking price. There were some terms to be negotiated, and then the listing agent had it out there for a 48-hour period after we had our quote-unquote agreed to price, where other people could potentially make offers if they wanted to.
Sure.
Didn't happen. We kept the contract, which is fantastic for our clients. But so just to clarify, when we made that offer and the offer was accepted by the seller, and then we had that 48-hour period, were those other terms, were they out there like in the open for the other buyers to potentially see as like a Okay, interesting.
Yes.
Yep. So it's definitely price and terms. It's not just price. That's super important to know.
Okay.
And so what we're trying to do is make sure that we expose the property to all of the buyers that are currently out marketplace, right? And so if you come in with anything other than the final offer, the minimum committed or above, that opens it for an offer, which is the offer window, which is what the 48-hour period in your case.
Mm-hmm.
It can, and the listing agent can determine what that offer window is, right? So
Sure.
it could be 24 hours, it could be 48 hours. Some people, when they've brought a new listing on, have made it 5 days because they're trying to get through a weekend so that you're able to show it, and then the days can adjust down as you get closer to that Monday. But the agent has all of the tools, and they still control how it's run. And we were talking before we even started. He said it's interesting to see how every agent does business differently, right? All successful agents. I mean, and that's been something really interesting for me as we've met with over 250 agents here in the DMV and also back in Boston, and seeing that no one does it the same, right? Everyone does it differently. So that was probably one of the challenges, was just giving the flexibility to within the platform for people to run the business the way that they want to run it.
Mm-hmm.
So in Max's case, let's say that he had the 48-hour window. What happens if some other buyer comes between his offer and the final offer?
Yep.
Not that max number. What happens then?
So if another offer was made within that window, they would be Max would get an alert saying that, hey, someone has another offer has been made, and you're no longer
Above
the highest
that offer, obviously.
And does it restart? So it's now a new 48-hour
No,
clock?
it's still going. The only time that the clock will reset is if an offer is made within the last 15 minutes.
It'll then extend an additional 15 minutes. So it's not one of those like, ooh, I got it last.
It is like an auction, like
Right.
But
right.
boy,
In
do you
some
see
ways.
people like last minute, like waiting to even put their offer in.
Yeah,
And
when we
people
did the
look at it
beta
that way.
launch, like, I probably did a dozen listings back in Boston, and that's where we're seeing the majority of the activity was kind of in the last hour.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But it's
But
all automated through the platform, so it's not like an agent waiting till like 5:59 p.m. and having to submit something.
oh no,
It's-
they could.
Oh, I see.
and
okay.
they
we
do.
had one like
Okay.
the very first listing that I had, the second offer came in with 30 seconds left on the clock, or 10, I think it was 10 seconds left.
I think that's like the mental part, right? Like people
Sure.
are so used to how auctions work, but this one does extend an additional 15 minutes to give everybody a fair shot at
Got
making an offer.
Got it.
Even if they hit the final number, like whatever that final
If you
offer.
hit the final offer, you buy the home, and it ends.
Okay.
But
Okay.
even if you're in the minimum committed offer timeline and people are bidding, the listing agent can remove the final offer button or even increase the final offer button if they see that, oh, maybe I misunderstood the market and things are moving a lot more and this is about to go up, $300,000. I mean, there's a property that I just saw that got 12 offers, went 300 grand over. So it's like, it's hard to gauge the market in its
Interesting, right.
entirety, right? Like condos versus DC and what part of DC is moving versus the burbs in Maryland and Virginia.
So the one you just mentioned, it went 300K over. I'm assuming they did not have a final offer, or they didn't put it at 300,000 over, did they?
No, this was not on the platform.
Oh, okay.
This had
We
just like
had- we-
proper escalations and all that. But
Okay.
we've had some runs on the platform.
We had one that was, I want to say, 225,000 over.
Okay.
And so my immediate question as we're doing kind of the deal audit going through was, hey, did you underprice it, or did you price it for it to run up like that? And the agent was like, no, we thought we had it priced well. And
I mean, that happens a
it's
lot.
just- I know.
We don't know.
Exactly.
I know.
Right.
But on that exact note, though, was there a final offer
He
for
did,
that
he
property?
did not have a final offer number on that.
And you
that
don't
particular
need to have a
listing.
final
Right.
offer button, right? If you're just uncertain of what the market is going to drive versus a condo, right? And a single family home, you're going to strategically do different things with that. So there's so much strategy from
Right.
the listing agent
you
and the
can-
buy agent.
Yeah, I mean the final offer to me is a negotiation tool, right? And it's like how do we get the seller the highest and best price for the property? Can we do that by making the final offer relevant, right? Almost creating that sense of urgency or even fear in the buyer that the buyer may lose it if it's close to where it is, right? As you're getting down to the end of the offer window. So there's definitely different strategies that people can employ, and I think as we've seen some people, some agents down here that have used it more than others, they're starting to develop those strategies. And I think, everyone will be different as they go through. You'll sell it, you'll use it differently than I will,
All right, let's get into some nuts and bolts in this. What markets are you serving right now?
DC, Maryland, and Virginia,
So
but
just
primarily DC.
Okay.
But I'm putting something in Virginia on tomorrow.
Okay. And how many agents are using your platform? Like, I know some probably more than others, but how many agents roughly do you think?
Just shy under 1,000. We checked
1,000,
last
okay.
night. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
In the DMV?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And then, and we'll launch back in Boston, probably end of March, April 1 at the latest. So within the next 30 days.
Do you guys have an affiliation with Compass? Because it seems like
No.
there's a lot of Compass agents that are on the platform.
No, we don't have any affiliation with any companies right now. I mean, we did have some we had some early people from Compass that had come on, but our initial sales guy was from the DMV, and he had relationships with those agents at Compass, and they were
Well,
the
and
early.
to add to that, so like when Final Offer came to town, I hated on it for not much of a good reason, mostly because I was like, oh, this is just for the big agents at Compass. Ultimately, they had like a sheet of top producers and went that direction, which makes sense. But for my situation, I was at the point of I had a stale listing in November, did not know what to do with this property. My clients are super anxious. They're under contract on another home. And so I called them and I said, all right, just give me the quick spiel on this and let me see.
Mm-hmm.
I put a stale listing on right before Thanksgiving, exposed the property there, and marketed to everybody under $1 million. So it was at 1.1 in Bright, and it was at like 975 in Final Offer. I marketed to everybody who had seen the property, and nobody believed. Someone was like, okay, we're going to make an offer because we never thought you'd take under $1 million. So they make an offer, and the other buyer's like, wait, you actually have a real offer? Like, I would have never expected that. And I didn't either. I mean, 2 people that had seen it months before are now offering, and they bid the property up. And I was able to move a stale listing, which was like huge for me, and which is why the minimum committed offer came back into play with Final Offer, because I was like, why are we focusing on an up market when we're in a down market? So now the platform can address an up and down market, which I think is so important, because everybody's like, oh, I can see this in an up market and not a down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a great place to reposition a property that's stale on the market.
So going into that particular situation,
Mm-hmm.
were you still on the MLS
Yes.
at 1.1?
Yes.
And then was your final offer 1.1? And then
Yep. I think I had it even a little higher.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the price was $1 million, or just shy of $1 million.
Just under $1 million.
Just under
Yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah.
So what is Final Offer? What are you guys? You're essentially you're sort of like an agent for the agent, I guess, in some regards, for the listing agent, because you're another middle person. So what is the licensing fee? What is the cost of putting something on Final Offer and listing it there?
Mm-hmm. Right now, there is
Free.
no cost. Yeah.
Okay.
There will be, as at some point this year. And what I think we still have it on the site as well. I mean, what
Yeah.
we've come up with is $200 a listing, and then I think like $500 a month for unlimited listings on the site.
Okay.
And so,
And there's like a brokerage wide enterprise offer that we're putting together as well, because I think at this point, the brokers are seeing, okay, my buyer agents need to put an offer through this platform. They need to be educated. They need to know how to use it. We've heard of buyer agents losing their client because they never heard of the platform. They're like, how do you not know about a platform that's, technology friendly and all this great stuff?
1,000 agents on the platform.
Now there are,
Yeah.
right? And I think people are now like, uh-oh. I mean, everybody at this point has heard about Final Offer, and now being educated is the most important part to just see how this can work for you.
All right. For the record, I'm neutral. I'm a neutral party here, but I'm with Jocelyn Voss and Kevin Caulfield from Final Offer. But I'm already seeing, I've got a couple listings right now where I'm like, right after this, for sure they are going on Final Offer. Because think about it, you've got this platform which is driving its own traffic. Final Offer, you
Yep.
can go to Final Offer and see what's on Final Offer too.
Mhm.
You're on Zillow, you're on Redfin, but you can go if you like the idea of seeing like this transparency aspect as a buyer. You can go to Final Offer and
What
find out.
buyer wouldn't want transparency?
Right.
I mean, we're giving the buyer, I mean, really all the information that they want, the minimum that the seller's willing to take right now, the number they can buy it for today, and then we're letting them know if there's been any offers on the property or when offers come in on the property.
Right.
So
And why look at any other website that doesn't have this much information? Like Bright, you could have it as $1 million and then you get $1 million offer the first weekend. The client's like, well, I wanted more. I'm not taking it. And then you're like, uh-oh. So having that conversation as an agent up front with my sellers saying, hey, we need to disclose what's the minimum committed offer that you have to take once this timer ends if someone hits it. So
Yeah.
those conversations make it so much easier up front. So you're not dealing with all the crazy emotions and difficulties later.
In the terms, right? You're starting
Yeah.
to ask the seller up front, what, here's what we think offers may look like. What's important to you? Is a closing date important to you? Do you need to do a lease? Do you want to try and work in a lease back? It's a powerful conversation when you're going in for the listing and you're already sitting there talking about what potential offers could look like.
That's a question I have. The value you guys put on the terms, home inspection, appraisal, financing, who comes up with that value? I know you're sitting in front of the seller, but the seller has no clue. They're probably looking back to you
Totally.
for advice.
We have a concierge team and an agent usually with initially on a call to sort of go through that with the listing agent to sort of help support that. You can have negative values or positive values also. So it really is all a part of the strategy and the process that works for you.
But it is up to, at the end of the day, it's up to the listing agent and the seller what they want to do.
Right. So obviously, at the beginning of the hour, we talked about maybe a controversial guess because some people are like, "What are they doing?"
Right.
So, hey, are you trying to get rid of buyers agents?
No, we're
we've
agents.
taken it-
I'm a
we've gone-
buyer's agent.
We've gone totally the other way. We require agents on both sides of the transaction.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. And so, I mean, you can't be any more transparent. But that was probably our biggest hurdle initially, was just that, hey, you guys are trying to eliminate the agent. I mean, I'm an agent myself. I'm not out to eliminate,
Well, and-
my friends and the people that I've gone to that have invested in the company. I mean, we built the platform for the agents, and we've just tried to make it a better experience by creating what we've created here.
Yeah, and like for my situation, I used the platform for free. So I was like, all right, I'll try this, see what happens. It worked. I came up with this minimum committed offer idea. And then like 2 weeks later, these guys are implementing it. And I thought, oh, wow, I need to be a part of this if I can have some influence on what it looks like ultimately. And so that's also another cool part is we have, I think, 41 investors just in the DMV that are all agents that we meet monthly and have like a fun party after, and talk about like, what do we need to change or need more of to automate this the right way? Because this is not just about automation. There's still the personal relationship that will never, ever go away in real estate. Everybody's going to try to kick that out, but ultimately it's just impossible. We all know that, and everybody's tried, but they've automated enough that makes it so that our lives are easier and more efficient.
But we're tweaking it too. I mean, just before I came over here, we were on a call with an agent who had an experience the other day and said, hey, I need to have more control in this area here. So we're making the changes in real time, and we're listening to the agents, right? I mean, we tried to it was developed with agents, right, as we were initially building it, and now we're going back to all of the users and we're listening to what they like, what they don't like, how we can make the experience better.
Yeah, and I would kind of reposition Max's question. Like, buyer agent is like one side of the equation, but you also have the other side, which is a listing agent. And I'm just thinking, I'll throw the question out to you guys, but like, it's almost like a FISBO of thought where could you not just go straight to the platform when it's $500 a month? Like, what's the point of a listing agent if everything is like kind of laid out in front of the buyer agent or the buyer?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a small chunk of what we do, right? I mean, we think about all the effort, all the money that we spend marketing, advertising the home, and solving problems throughout the transaction. I mean, the platform can't do that, right? And listing agents have to be involved in the process to show the home. I mean, I know my client base back in Boston, they're not staying home on the weekend to do an open house. And if they were, half of them would never get the deal done because they'd be butting heads with the buyers, So I don't see this ever going that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tool for the agents, but it's also something that makes the consumer really happy. right? Like, let's give everybody a shot to actually buy this home from a seller perspective to hopefully drive up the price. From a buyer perspective, let's know what I'm actually need to do to get this property. And ultimately, that's also what an agent wants too for their consumers.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, but the FSBO, just to finish that thought, I've actually gotten 2 FSBOs from a final offer listing where they came in. They both came in. I think they were trying to size up their own home.
Right.
And then we were talking about final offer, and they said, "Hey, we want to put our house. We want to sell through final offer. How do we do it?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, you have to hire me. That's how." And so, we picked in the very first listing that I put on final offer. I picked up 2 more listings.
I mean, that's a question I have. Another question I have as far as like the marketability of your all's platform. Like, how does the regular consumer, they know Zillow, Realtor.com, Troya, what Redfin, like where and how are you guys putting this out to the consumer?
Well, that's like the big push that's starting now with just now with the marketing side of everything. And so we're really just doing a massive marketing push to buyers, consumers, and we do digital ads for all of our listing agents on the platform, coupled with final offer.
Is there any other so digital ads, but TV ads, radio?
Those will, I think those will come in time. We're like I said, we're just bringing people on now to really start to run with that and go get to the consumer, right? Our first thing was getting to the agents and seeing if they like it. And then that's the one thing that we've learned through all of this is that the consumer does like it. And, we've spent countless hours with people in open houses talking to them about final offer, like to the point where we've had people come back after leaving the open house and ask if they can invest in the platform. But that's the nice thing where you're driving leads too, right? Because we're getting more time with the consumer in the open house rather than just walking through the open house and saying, "All right, I don't like the house, I'm leaving." They'll sit there and talk to you about final offer. And then you have, it's all about if you've got good agents that are able to convert people at open houses, this has been gold for them because now they're captured. They've got more time to capture the buyers.
Right. We have the sign writer final offer. So I did an open house for someone at TTR recently where I was the representative final offer. And as people came in, neighbors were like, "What is this? We saw your final offer sign writer. What's that all about?" So I gave them the quick spiel. I also trained the agent that was there doing the open house. And what ultimately happened, people were like, "I see how that can get me more money. Let's talk about that when I'm ready to sell my house." And then business cards exchange. There's a lead right there. And then from the buy side, oh wow, they're selling this transparently. That's so amazing. I'm more interested in making an offer because mentally I can say this is like real and nobody's bullshitting me.
Right. Another question on that regard. Someone comes to an open house, they're not represented, they want to write on your property.
Mm-hmm.
How does dual representation, designated representation work on the platform? Can they go in without an agent?
They cannot. So that would be up to the listing agent whether they want to put that person in touch with someone on their team that can represent them on the buy side. Everyone does it differently. Every agent's going to handle that situation differently, but the buyer cannot write it directly.
Okay.
That was what I was going to ask because you've got a platform that's driving traffic, so your leads are going to come in directly that way. So
the leads go directly to the listing agent.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
So instead of Zillow taking the leads on the homes that we work so hard to get to sell,
sure,
and then sell to our competitors for crazy money, you're actually getting leads on your own properties.
So let's talk about you guys a little bit. So what are each of your respective roles with the company?
Right now,
everything.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're bootstrapping it. We're starting to hire more people and bring them on, but we've had our hands in everything kind of from start to this point.
Mm-hmm.
My title is co-CEO with Tim Quirk, and we were having this discussion the other day, and it's like we all kind of have a hand in on everything
mm-hmm.
as of right now. And we're starting to but as we start to grow, the org chart changes, and we start to build this thing out.
Yeah. I'm the VP of sales. I mean, ultimately, I'm just talking to the agents, working on adoption, which is the most important thing right now,
Mm-hmm.
and helping people getting listings on the platform and just strategizing and pitching to their clients.
Financial question. So, how are you guys like? I guess paying the bills, keeping the lights on. It doesn't sound like $200 a pop is a significant amount of money if you're looking at the grand scheme of things. Is there another revenue stream, or there's the pop is going to come later when there's enough people that are adopted to the program?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think as we get more adoption in other areas and other states, as we go continue to grow, that is one revenue stream. I think there's plenty of other revenue streams out there with advertising,
Sure.
whether it be on mortgage side, title side. I mean, there's so many different ways you can go with it.
No, it's a startup. I mean, you
yeah.
guys are being entrepreneurial. I appreciate that for
So,
sure.
And then I think the data that we're collecting too. I mean, we've got some data out there that really no other site has right now. I mean, there are comps on Final Offer that you can't find anywhere else, right? So I think that's a big play as we start to grow and get more adoption, and we just get more listings on the site, on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
Someone goes to your site, can they look at everything that's on the market or just everything that's on the market through Final Offer?
Right now, just through Final Offer. And they have to register to see the minimum committed offer.
Okay. So, Kevin, what's your background in real estate?
So I've been on doing the same thing you guys are.
Yeah.
I've been an agent in Boston now for almost 23 years.
Okay.
Long time. And this just on the buy sell side, we do a lot of new development back in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
But doing the same thing that you guys are doing on a day to day.
Yep. And Jocelyn?
Yeah, I've been doing this for 14 years. It's the only job I've had. I'm a local like you, Max. My grandpa was a real estate attorney here. He helped write the TOPA laws back in the day. Luckily, those have changed.
He was one responsible for the cash.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
I can't tell you. When he passed away, there was he had 25 properties that we had to sell, and they were all just cash for keys.
Right.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
That's
So thanks a lot. But yeah, it's just been in my family for a long time. So, I mean, I enjoy real estate. It's fun. It's helping people. I'm also a mental health therapist, which after being an agent for 6 years, I saw the value in, maybe I should go to school at night and really become a therapist, an actual one.
There's some crossover there.
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
There's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you think it is so hard to marry the process of real estate the way we do it and technology?
Well, technology for the most part is black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And real estate is very gray, right? There are situations that pop up all the time. So I'd say that was probably the biggest challenge in coming at the offer negotiation part of real estate with technology, is that every deal is different, and there are nuances to anything that you're doing, contingencies. And that's what, initially when we beta launched this, it was just too restrictive, right? You need to be able to make deals, and you need to be able to negotiate. And so we had to make those changes in the platform. So early on, I was the guinea pig, and we went in and got into a couple situations that I didn't really like, and so we had to go out and change it. And so we made a lot of changes from where we launched, where we beta launched in Boston to our launch here in DC. And like I said, we're continually trying to tweak it.
Can you tell us just a few of the changes, whether it's your personal experience or what you've heard from agents and their feedback?
Yeah, so this morning we were just talking about we had a change where if you had terms, your terms and the offer window had opened, you were not able to change the terms. And so we're changing that this morning. At one point you could not move the final offer. And then we had it where you can move the final offer up, but you couldn't move it down, and now you can move the final offer wherever you'd like to move it. And the reason for that is because sometimes you don't know, and maybe you set the goalpost too high, and your final offer is really irrelevant, right? And so to use it as a negotiation tool, you have to bring it down to be a relevant number in the transaction that someone may actually hit it, right? So it's strategies across the board, but that's giving more flexibility to the agent to allow them to run the business how they want to run it.
Yeah, and another one to add is that, we have Trent and Jen who have a lot of new development, and they asked to have the price hidden because there's the 15-day review period of the condominium documents. And so that is now a functionality as well that's changed.
And probably one of the bigger changes too was we initially had it so that you had to get your what we call buying power through the platform. So you had, we do a lot of new development back in Boston, and we'll have a preferred lender that's on site. And so you don't have to use the lender, but you've got to get pre-approved through them. And so that's essentially what the partnership we created with Guaranteed Rate, where you didn't have to use them, but you had to go through them to get your buying power. And, we ran into some resistance there, so then we made the change that you can now upload a pre-approval. I do think it will go back the other way, but there'll be a menu of lenders at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like that's best practices, right? I mean, if we get a pre-approval now, the most we can do is pick up the phone and call the lender and say, hey, are these people approved for, X amount? And they say yes. They don't have to send us anything additional. They're just answering questions. So at least when you have people approved on the platform, you know that they're going through a legit, trusted bank or mortgage company. And
Yeah, and if someone comes to the table with Bank of America and requests buying power, you could say, call the agent, say, listen, can you go with a local lender? It'd be a lot easier. And then they can make that change. So you still have so much control and value in the process.
Sure.
But we want to have the listing agent have the trust that the lender that the buyer's using will actually be able to close, right, and not have to worry about it. And so if we can do that, there's obviously benefit for the lenders to be on the platform too, because they're in front of all of the buyers that are actually making offers, right? And so you would think that there would be some severe penalty if they gave somebody that buying power that they actually couldn't afford.
I know in my experience, when I was going through and working with the developer on 1525P, we put in there, I think to have teeth in the game, there was a credit card that was required. I put yes, I don't know what it was, 2,000 or 2.5%.
Yeah.
And someone called and said,
It was me.
it was you. You called. Okay, so thank you. But you called in and was mentioning you guys have kind of shied away from that because whether the buyer agents or buyers just weren't comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the amount I put or the credit card. Could you explain that?
I think it was more the credit card, which, when I put my listing on originally, that was required. And I think people just weren't comfortable giving their information.
Okay.
Ultimately, I mean, it's not even on hold, the credit card, right? The idea is if you don't perform, that money, let's say it was $2,500, would go to the seller. So it's not an earnest money deposit or anything of that. It's just trying to have some skin in the game so that you're actually going to perform after you win the property.
Wait, back up. Sorry.
So really, what it was in there for, it was in there for a penalty in the instance that you offer window closed, you were the winning offer, and then you didn't ratify with a regional contract.
Okay.
And so if you didn't, it hasn't happened, but if you didn't ratify, then your credit card would be charged, and the penalty fee would go to the seller.
Okay.
So if you hit it and then just walked away.
But there's been a lot of pushback from that, from buyer agents. And so listing agents we haven't had anybody clicking yes for that, but we're still giving that as an option. So when I called you, I was just double checking.
As a listing agent, I would think the opposite. It's like, and I think I put in there 24 hours, or maybe it was 18 hours from final offer acceptance to ratification on a G-car contract. But that still gives me a little bit of pause. Like, especially if you're in a multiple offer situation and it goes rampant, 20% over list, there's still that 14, 18, 24-hour window that we select that they don't perform. And now we might have lost a few buyers and our percentage goes from 20% over list down to 15. So I guess what does a listing agent, how do they get from a buyer agent or a buyer teeth in the game from the platform?
So that was the teeth.
That was the teeth.
That was the teeth in it. Yeah. But I mean, look, when you're in these situations, in the multiple bid and the buyer wins, they're just as eager to have you sign the contract as you are to sign it, right? And so that's what we're doing. I mean, what we've been able to do is get all of the real buyers that are out there, and you're still going to know the agent's still probably going to reach out to you if they've got certain questions, and you're going to know who the winning agent is, and you're going to call that person and say, all right, get me the contract. But it is on our roadmap where final offer, where we'll be able to automate the regional contract. So when the offer is won, it will generate the regional contract and send it to the list agent and
That was my next thought was because the one I was working on was a new condo with a new condo contract, which is pretty simple form. But I was thinking that it would be wonderful after all like this waiting and the back and forth if I could hit another button and just have the contract done.
Yeah,
right.
That's coming.
That's real time savings for you too.
Yeah,
like your contracts. But Massachusetts is a different state, so we're a two-step state. So we've got our offer to purchase, which is a two-page sheet, and then we go to purchase and sale. Usually 10 to 14 days later, right? And attorneys handle that for us. So when I saw the contract that you guys have here, I was like, well, this is huge time savings for people, right? Like especially when you're writing offers that aren't getting accepted.
Oh yeah.
And you get into a heated market, and you go through a weekend where you're writing 15 offers, and you've got nothing to show for. This saves all of that time, and then it saves the time too, where like, your client calls you, it's Friday night, and they're like, hey, we want to submit on this house, and you're like, there's not a chance that they've already got 3 offers, they're way over that, and well, we want to put the offer in anyway. So now you take the time out of your day to go write the offer, where if it were on final offer, they can see that it's already gone above where they're willing to pay.
And to note, the buyer agent and buyer are signing an agreement when they before putting their offer in, that they are going to continue to ratification if they win.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there is a legal document they're also signing.
Have you guys had a situation, either yourselves or another agent you've heard of, where there are multiple offers, but you've got an old school agent that just refuses, or maybe they're just not technically savvy enough to get onto the platform, but they still want to submit on a final offer property, and they can't do the platform for whatever reason?
We haven't had it.
And we have a concierge team of these amazing people that spend so much time. I mean, if an offer comes in or someone registers, they call immediately, they check in, they walk them through the process. And I mean, you even said that like you've seen I don't want to say elderly, like 55 and plus people are really enjoying this more than anybody, right?
I don't think they're going to appreciate you.
Yeah, I know.
55 is now the new
I don't
75.
know. I know. What am I talking about? But you were the one who had said that originally. You saw that.
I think you've used the platform. I mean, Max, like, what did you think when you went through and made the offer?
So okay, all right. My first at first I was like, oh, I'm interested to use this.
Yeah.
And then I realized there was a registration thing, and then my buyers had to register on it, which is fine.
Yeah.
I had to sort of coach them. They're first time buyers. I had to coach them through it. And I had to say, I've never used this platform, so bear with me as well, which made me feel old, by the way. Thank you.
Did someone call you, by the way, from
yes,
concierge?
They called me immediately. And then I felt like an idiot, but because it's like, what do I need a tech concierge for? But believe me, and look, Brent, Nina both know me. I'm not a tech idiot, right? Okay, they're gonna Nina vouch.
You're below the 55 threshold.
There you go.
But like, I know agents who would come up against this and be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" You know what I mean? And I think you probably will bleep it, but I'm just saying, like, I'm sure you've had this from some agents.
You're saying with the registration process,
the registration process, and the and the fact that there is another like app or website that they have to get to when they've already like zip forms was already enough for them to deal with, right?
Yeah, but you're not writing an offer as a buyer agent unless you win.
Sure.
So for the agent aspect,
but I do agree. Like we're in the process of streamlining the front end because that has been feedback that we've gotten where it's been a little bit too clunky at the front trying to get registered.
Right.
And so we're making that change as well. So it should just be, you come in, register, and then you send everything to your client.
Yeah, I mean, well, that would be my initial feedback though, was that it was a little clunky to like be on a platform, which I was expecting to be like boom, 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 and then I had to talk to someone. Yeah, it's like I could have just talked to the listing agent and been that much further along.
Sure.
But then once we were in the process, obviously the buyers wanted the property, so we were in for the long haul anyway. It's not like that's how the listing agent wanted to do it, so we were going to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So it worked out fine. And now after our discussion today. Talking about, obviously you have a platform with its own sort of traffic. Other agents are using it. People are getting used to it. It certainly appeals to a demographic for, let's say, especially if you're talking about the newer condos or things more at like our retail level here in DC, under 1 million properties, anything like that. It could be very useful. So, and I noticed that a lot of the first listings that I saw in there were new condos. It's obviously there's a lot of product to sell in that department. So it's like, put it all out there. You
Right.
know, make it easy for these types of
But
buyers.
it's become a lot more diverse if
Okay.
you check it out today. I mean, we have people from different brokerages, all different types of
Sure.
brokerages trying it out. We have all price points now too.
Yeah, and it works for every list. It can work for every listing.
Of course.
Right? I mean, it's not going to sell a stale, overpriced listing, but when you price it properly and the values are done well, it will generate. We've seen it generate offers faster, generate multiple bids, create the urgency.
There's more trust in the platform for the consumer.
Well, I have 2 listings right now that I immediately know would likely benefit from this.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Maybe 3.
I mean, it's easy to think about situations you've been into, right? Where I'm always like, oh, that would have been great on final offer. This would have made a lot of sense on final offer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of how my head works now.
Yeah.
So what would you do on final offer? I'm just curious. So would you do the approach where it's in the MLS at $1 million, and then you go final offer at 800
So
or whatever number?
doesn't that depend on the seller though,
It
right?
does.
Yeah, you talk to the seller. and-
Yeah.
So
So
they're using your coaching, whatever you're coaching them to do.
well, for these sellers who I'm thinking of, they're gonna be like, "That's the price. That's the price, mate. The list price is the price. We'll deal with that later." I mean, I thought,
I
so
love
they're
your
not from
accent.
America.
yes, they are. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's how they talk to me in that exact voice. But seriously, they're like those guys are not gonna whatever their list
In-
price is
Well,
gonna be
in,
their list
in
price.
that
Right.
situation, you wouldn't have to put them a minimum.
Right.
committed.
So
you
it's
could
just
put a final offer number.
Just
if you
put it
want.
up there.
Yeah.
And then again, it's another way for the buying community to interface with this listing.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
And there's lead gen for you.
right. So to me that's a no-brainer for especially for that type of property. But again, the seller has to be on board, right?
Yep.
Right.
It's because it's the seller's property.
Totally. And that seller that says, "Hey, the number's the number. I'm
Mhm.
not going to take anything under that." You know, final offer would be great because you could put just the final offer. So if they hit the final offer on it, then you sell the home.
Yeah.
But you could also expose to the market all of the lower offers that have come through and said, "Hey,
Right.
we've seen X, Y, and Z, and the number's a number, and they're not willing to move on it."
No, and also the data attached to that, like if someone's favorited it, right?
Yep.
Because you have all those options too on
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yep.
And even in the down market too. I mean, when things are sitting on the market longer, as we're collecting data, and then you make some sort of price adjustment on the home, it goes back out to all the buyers that have seen it in real time. Or if someone makes a lower offer,
But
right?
there aren't days on market like Bright is where a price adjustment would hurt you, which is like what I did right before Thanksgiving. I was like, I can't drop the price right before Thanksgiving. We have to wait. But I
Yeah.
was able to do it there safely.
Right.
Interesting. What's next for final offer?
In terms of changes that
Or
we're
just in
making,
general, like, so you guys are getting agents, you
Yeah,
have
so-
1,000 plus. Like, what's the next step? in
here,
final offer?
Listings. More listings.
more listings and education, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
think there were a lot of people that thought they knew what it was or were, uncertain, had questions about it. And, same way are you trying to eliminate the agents? There's a lot of fear. I mean, change is hard with real estate agents with anything, right? And so to go in there and ask them to change the way they're doing business is sometimes a tough ask. But as we've gotten people more educated in it, we've seen them come around, try the platform and like it and continue to use it. And so that's a big, our biggest challenge is just kind of getting out there, talking to people and having them understand.
And talking
exactly
to the
what it is.
consumers, right? And like as an agent, you want to know, you don't want your consumer coming to you being like, hey, what's this final offer? And you don't know about it. So we're really doing a big push on education, like you said, for all the brokerages.
What's your competition in this space?
There's really no one out there that's doing what we're doing, right? Because it's a tough space to come into because it's a tough thing to build because of all of the intricacies of a real estate deal,
Sure.
right? When you're coming in to do it, I mean, you've got to go situationally. I mean, we're still making changes now, right? You try to account for every situation that you may come into with a deal over 20 years of doing deals, and then something else happens, right? And so it's a difficult technology, I think, to build in that sense. I mean, there are a couple competitors that are out there, but again, no one's doing it kind of the way that we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, did you see anything at Inman like this?
No.
Yeah.
and that's what I was thinking at Inman. Not knocking anyone for trying to do new things, but a lot of the
Yeah.
stuff is the same thing, just
Yeah,
repackaged.
exactly.
What I actually signed up for something while I was there, where they were going to basically create YouTube video, other Instagram stuff, like stuff that I already do, but like redo a website and then put everything on a YouTube channel, do all the stuff, and it was a very low price. Okay, and I was like, these are things that I don't do, but I just thought for a little more search engine optimization,
Yeah.
and rather than having to custom do it all myself, this would be an easy thing, and it was cheap. And then they called me and said, "Oh, that price we quoted you, well, we can't do that in DC because of our agreement with Bright MLS." In other words, what they were saying was, we didn't realize how expensive the IDX was in your
Wow.
location, and we can't give you that super discount
Oh my
price.
goodness.
But if you sign up for our CRM platform at this number, which is like another like, lead gen CRM. I already have a CRM. I'm
Yeah.
good, and like we can get leads however we get them. We're going to do our own. We have our own lead sources, whatever. You can pay for lead sources, or you can go out and get them yourself the old-fashioned
Yeah.
way. But it was just another one of those things where it was like, I don't feel like the guy upsold me or anything,
Right.
but it was like, it was a bait and switch,
Yeah.
a little, right? A little
Yeah,
bit.
definitely.
And so I just didn't return his text. And I'm not saying his product is bad. His product might be great for the right
Right.
agent. I just don't care about that right now.
Yeah,
But there was a lot of stuff like that.
I saw that too. I
Right?
mean,
That's
and
where
we got a 5-star review from Inman, and that was before we had even the minimum committed offer on there, and before the negotiation aspect that's on the platform.
Were you guys were not at Inman, were
Yes,
you?
we were.
Were you guys one of the
I was
booths?
there. Yeah, on Startup Alley Row or whatever it's
I think I
called.
only went there
She
once.
tracked me down.
I
She
did.
Max.
I went
Uh,
right up to you.
Well, Max brought up a great point about Bright MLS. I mean, have you guys had any pushback or any dealings, whether the local G-Car Association or Bright MLS?
No pushback. I mean, obviously, Bright's got their set of rules on what you can have in your listing and your description, but I mean, no, everyone's been.
No, and if anything, NVAR, Virginia's association, they have something called REACH, which is like bringing startup technology to agents faster. And so they've invited us to speak at their next event and want us to be strategic partners with them. So we're looking into, creating a little bit of that with NVAR.
Nice. Brent, what else do you think here?
You guys have any other questions? Anything else you guys want to discuss?
What do you guys think? I want to hear what you
Well,
think.
obviously for realtors listening to this who might have some knowledge of the platform already, they'll start to learn a little bit more about it. But I'd say that like it can come across as a little confusing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it is. Yeah.
Right? So
It's sophisticated.
It is a sophisticated
Right,
platform.
right.
And that was another reason that we said, hey, we need an agent on both sides of this, right? Because they need to know what they're doing, and they
Yes.
need to know the offer that they're making, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot to it, and I think as we get through it, we'll streamline it. It'll become easier. To your point, like where you can just you get in, you get logged in, and you can just go click.
Mhm.
There's your offer. Boom, it's done.
Yeah.
But it is like one of those things that has like a lot of benefits, like all over the place, like fair housing, like you name it, lead generation, all these different things. So it does take a minute to really like wrap your head around, which means it requires a little bit of training and education, which is not something agents totally like to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a few steps to it, which is possibly part of the pushback, but we are seeing, because buyer agents have to put it through if they're making an offer through the platform, that now they're like, okay, yeah, now I need to understand how to use this.
And I've had a couple people that work primarily on the buy side come to me and say, hey, I want to know everything about final offer because I want to be the buyer agent that knows how to negotiate through final offer, right?
Sure.
And develop a strategy there, which I thought was smart. And I think the more people learn about it, the more that they will develop their own strategies, right? Both on the list side and how they come in and present offers with buyers, right? To try and get
Yeah.
them the best deal that they possibly
Yeah.
can.
I mean, it's
But-
still fairly new. So
Yep.
Right.
And I think it's not like everybody has 10 listings a month, right? And so there's only so many times that you have a listing to even put through the platform to learn what strategy works. Different strategies are going to work for different types of properties, different locations, different price points. So you sort of are kind of going with it and being strategic as you go.
And the one thing that I like to, well, one of the things I like is it creates consistency in your process, right? So that you're running the same process listing to listing, and people know, hey, if I'm going into Max's, if I'm going into one of Max's listings, here's it's going to be run through final offer. Here's how final offer works. Versus like, nothing drives me crazier than house comes on a Wednesday and it's under agreement on Wednesday night, and it's like, okay, well, why would you do that? Right? Why would you let the first buyer through the door make you an offer that you shut it down for everybody else?
I mean, that's the seller's prerogative, though, right?
I know, but
that's also fear, right? Like
Yeah.
it's nervousness, fear, and that this platform kind of gets rid of that because it's like it's automated in that way.
lack of experience, right? At times,
Sure.
And then, I mean, or you could have someone running a best and final, or an call for offers on a Sunday with the unit directly next to that, or running different process. So there's no consistency sometimes, and some people don't communicate well how they're going to run their process.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say that there are too many. Well, what do we do for a living? I mean, we're agents. We get involved in all kinds of things where it's like the hours we end up working weren't the hours we thought we were going to be working, and something comes up at the time that we didn't want it to come up. That's kind of the job, right?
Yeah.
Like that's that's why we get the big checks, sure.
Right.
But at the same time, if you have a set schedule through a platform like this, we had a situation recently where we put something on the market on a Thursday, and we had limited times when it could be shown. And a great offer came in on Saturday. We couldn't even get in touch with the seller. Like they just, I don't know who knows where they were. They weren't available. And then 2 more offers came in. And then it was just a big, like, it was a lot of phone calls and annoying emails and people who were annoyed at each other and, And then, of course, went under contract with the offer that did have the best terms, but that could have all been so spelled out so clearly.
Well, and the seller through the platform also gets a notification in real time that an offer was made, or the buyer on the other end.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like it happened.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of when we had Mandy and David on our show, and they said exactly that of course you can't get a hold of your seller because they're out of town or whatnot, but you're actually shopping the offer for a better number.
Sure,
Come on, Max.
Now hold on, Brent. This woman was literally, I think she was at like a church function or something. So
I'm
I mean,
sure
she
she
No
was.
phones allowed.
Yeah, right.
But your house
Or your
is on the
phone
market.
did not work that day. It just did not work. Okay.
Phone was broke.
Yeah. But no, I like for that reason, especially when you have like a window of time, an offer has been made. Now there's a window of time that everyone, you can just tell an agent calling like, well, my guy does want to write on it. It's like, go to this platform,
right,
and just do it through there, and we will see it, and then continue.
And that's it.
Yeah.
No, nothing else.
Yeah. And I don't have to pick up the phone again and say, okay, now, right.
How many days do they want for closing? What does your seller need? What is?
Right.
I mean, all those conversations, especially if you have 20 people calling you on a hot property, which there are a lot of hot properties right now.
Yeah, or you go for a call for offers, and you've got 5 offers coming in, and you have the same conversation with each agent that calls you, right? I mean, it drives you nuts. And then you've got to call them all back and tell them why they didn't get the property, right? And so it's like there's time savings there. Like you just get into, and some of those conversations just go totally off the rails when you're calling them to tell them they didn't get it, and then you're on the phone.
Yeah,
for
let's
45
just
minutes,
touch that for a second. It's off subject. But to agents who, when you didn't get it, it's too late.
Yeah,
that's all I have
It
to
is
say.
too late.
And for whatever reason it was, it happened.
Right.
So
like we clearly ratified before making this phone call.
let's all move on.
Right.
I've had to move on.
Yes.
Many
of course,
times.
of course.
So
does the platform send like a consolation email like, thank you guys did not win?
Not a bad idea, honestly. Well, no, but you see in real time you
see
lost,
in real time,
right?
but then it's like, all right, so now you lost. It's like,
that's
I'm
not a bad
sorry,
idea. Maybe
you
the
guys
agent it'll
lost.
be like pre-populated.
Right.
On the very first one we did, we had 94 people watching as the thing was going back and forth.
Wow.
Which was interesting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we take for granted. I mean, this is what we do every day. but for the consumer, I mean, they may only do it. Some may only do it a few times in their life, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so that was interesting to me that people.
I think it's fun to watch. I mean, I've had a lot of agents be like, "Oh my gosh, look what's happening!" And it's like notification and price increase.
Yeah.
Oh no, the real estate market over the last few years, there's definitely a voyeuristic aspect.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, that sold for what? Oh, it went for less than asking.
Exactly.
What?
Right.
Uh,
I mean, really, the conversations.
yeah, it's like reality TV in front of you.
Well, it's as real as it gets.
In a way.
Kevin and Jocelyn, thank you so much for coming out today to talk about Final Offer. It's a very interesting platform, and it seems like things are going well. Wishing the best for you guys with the platform. We always have rapid fire questions for our guests. Brent's going to hit you with those.
Oh wow.
Each one of you, 5 questions each. Same question though. What is your food kryptonite?
Pizza.
Pizza.
Anything with sugar.
Yeah, anything with sugar. Sounds like me. What are you guys binge watching right now?
Perfect Match on Netflix. Reality TV trash that I love.
Yellowstone.
Of course.
Yellowstone.
My
That's
favorite.
Max's.
My favorite.
You guys have a go-to vacation spot?
Cancun, because it's just easy to get to. I have kids, direct flights, you know.
It is easy.
Mhm.
Summertime Nantucket.
Nantucket. Better than Martha's Vineyard.
They're different. They're different.
Yes. Coach Belichick has a house on Martha's Vineyard. I think
Nantucket.
maybe Obama. Oh, Nantucket.
Yeah.
Obama's got one too.
Obama's
Obama's got the
vineyard.
big Martha's
Yeah.
Vineyard.
Yeah. Coffee or tea?
Coffee, of course.
Last question here. Who would play you in a movie?
I don't know.
Someone funny, I hope.
That is difficult.
I've got
I mean,
Kevin's.
wish list.
You got Kevin's?
Yeah.
All right, say it. Who?
Kevin Costner, Yellowstone.
I
There you go.
love Costner.
I have-
Sandra
that's a-
Bernhardt.
Who's that?
Bullock?
So
Sandra Bullock.
Oh,
Okay.
I
back
like
that up. Tell Celtic a
No, no, no.
Sandra Bullock.
We got to
for
keep
sure.
that
Sandra
in
Bullock.
there.
Do I look like her or just because
Sandra
she's kind of
Burns.
funny?
No, I just think like
I see
some
it.
vibrance and the hair and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, the hair. I got a lot of hair.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
guys.
coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
We also, just really quick, we always like to give a charitable contribution for our
Yeah.
guests. Is there any charity that you guys are giving to that you want to give a shout out to?
Asylum Works.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Keyed In with your hosts, Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. For more information on selling your home, find us online at KeyedInPodcast.com. Remember to subscribe to Keyed In on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Keyed In Podcast, at Rabin Max, and at Brent E. Jackson. And follow Max on TikTok at MaxwellRabin_properties.